channel on this Friday, July 19th, and I'm just winging it here. At the last second I said I'm gonna make a video. I felt like just having a plain old tuna fish sandwich, but lo and behold, I did not have any mayonnaise. Mayonnaise. I can't, every time I say that I think of Officer and a Gentleman. So, yeah, let's get started with, I always buy the can with oil in it. Oh, you know what? Where am I going to put the oil? Let me squeeze out the oil. Wow. That's a first. Sorry. The first one was going in. I've never had that happen before in my life. Well, let me go. Let me get the oil drained out of this without cutting myself. Okay, I'm back, and I like a little bit of onion, diced onion, in my tuna fish. So I have just a can of tuna fish. That's why I should get plastic forks. And like I said, I went to the grocery store. This is actually it's the third time I've gone to the grocery store. I got up 3 o'clock this morning. I think I got to the grocery store around 7 o'clock. Got a little late. Bought some stuff. Then I forgot I needed Elmer's glue. But I went down, of course, first time, because I wanted, no, I went this morning because I was determined to have pancakes. I bought a buttermilk pancake mix. This stuff was terrible. It was really bad. Now I need a spoon. I don't know if I got a bad batch or it comes out like rubber. And it's one of those complete mixes. When I bought that, they didn't have any pancake mix. That was, I think I bought the buttermilk by accident. But I didn't think they made the one that you add milk and eggs to. Because they didn't, they were out of it. So I went this morning to get pancake mix, and I had pancakes for breakfast. Pancakes and bacon. So that I had a garden project, so I went to Home Depot, and on the way back I was going to actually buy Elmer's glue at Home Depot. Decided not to go back in after I went to the garden center. And on the way back, went into Shaw's and got my Elmer's glue. Then I realized I wanted tuna fish because I haven't eaten since this morning. And it's now 5 o'clock. Yeah, I think it says 4:57, something like that. And they had Panadosi's bread. This isn't going so good. This is like my story I'm going to tell you about. So, I got my bread. Not realizing I still need to cut it in half. I'll be right back. Once again. Oh man, we're on 9 minutes. And now I got an itch on my nose. Okay. Tuna fish. I know some people like, I don't know, lettuce and tomato on it. But I'm just gonna have this. That. And I bought a jar of spear pickles. Voila. Don't look. I'm using my fingers. There you go. And of course, Lay's potato chips. These were 2 for $3. I'm like, I'm gonna try that. I think the condiments aisle has the ethnic foods in it too, or the Goya stuff. Oh boy, yeah, it's Goya. What is this? Watch this not be what I think it is. Oh, it actually has pieces of coconut in it. Which clogs the straw. Oh, that's delicious. It's not too sweet. It's got that coconut taste. nice tall can. Oh, wow. I'm gonna have to get that more often. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Let's get that out of the way. Oh, finally. I think some people would also put potato chips on the sandwich. It is deceptively hot out there. It's a bright blue, like it's magnifying the sun. Then we cooled off. Nice dry air was 60 degrees this morning. Temperatures at night forecast in the 60s for like the week. Or the coming 5 days, something like that. But it's just this blue, darker blue sky just burns you up. That's a shame. These straws are such small diameter. Get that more often. My father used to send me down to Panadosi's on must have been a Saturday, I don't know if it was a Sunday morning. And they had the rolls of the French bread. They call this French bread. Right out of the ovens on they had a conveyor belt system. You can watch it. That was one of the attractions. And I think it was a quarter a loaf. Or a dime a loaf. Must have been a quarter a loaf. And it was in the paper. This would be crusty. You know, it'd be a nice baked crust that would crackle. And as soon as I would hit the first red light, I'd buy Spuckies and then a couple of loaves of French bread. I think, we bought them from my dad's. He would make sandwiches for his work from this. I would break into one and you'd eat all the center out. And then just be the crust, and you'd eat the crust. was still warm. Wow, these pickles. What did I get? These are like, they call them quarters, I think, but they're still pretty big, like thirds. So I don't know if you notice. I know. I can feel it probably the top of my head. I get a little color on me now because I've been out in the sun. Yesterday, I headed out early and drove 113 miles to Wiscasset, Maine, to go to Red's Eats, a famous or award-winning, highlighted in a number of shows, visited by a number of celebrities, and lobster roll. So had to take Route 1 Saugus I-95 north to 295 north to US 1 north. It's way past Kennebunkport, Maine. Maine's a big state. I think you could go another 500 miles before you hit the Canadian border. So they're toll roads. So you get about $13 in tolls. I filled up the tank before I left. And oddly enough, it didn't seem to come off of full until when I was just about there. But my car started making funny noise, like a grinding noise, and I'm like, oh no. I envisioned breaking down up in Maine, and what was I gonna do? So, I noticed that the first time I stopped at a toll booth. At first I thought there was something going on at the toll booth, and it was reverberating, and it wasn't hearing it right. It wasn't my car. But then I get to a toll booth up in Maine, and a guy gives me a look when I'm going through the toll booth, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds like my transmission. And the reason I thought it was my transmission is I had a transmission fluid leak, but there wasn't much fluid that dripped out in the driveway. And I found the problem, and it was they have this metal piece, these tubes, that's bolted to the inside of the radiator. Let's see if it sort of looks like I think it sort of looks like this. It sort of looks like that. And this is facing the engine. And there's up here, I think there's another bracket on this tube. But these two tubes right here have a bracket. But the also welded together. Well, that's closest. That's sitting almost at the bottom of the radiator. So it must get a lot of splash from the salt and the roadway. So it rusted, and there was a pinhole leak. So I replaced that tube. But I'm like, I thought I checked the level. You're supposed to check it hot. And I'm like, gee, I wonder if I lost more fluid than I thought. And the gears are grinding. I'm like, geez, I envision like pieces of metal in the transmission pan there, and gears grinding up. So I was there. So I just put it in the back of my mind. I was gonna not say anything about this. But when I got there, I take all my equipment out, which is just too bulky. It's very hot. The Canon camera, it's just very heavy. The tripod, it just draws attention. And I don't want to stick out from the crowd, you know. And I look at my recorder, I turn it on. No SD card. I left the SD card at home. I couldn't believe it. But I got everything on. I know something's gonna go wrong with this one. We're at 25 minutes, so let me just go ahead and reset the camera anyways. So when I do that, I can keep the Sony going. I can keep the recorder going. It's just that when I turn on the Canon again, I have to clap to get marks on the audio that I can then match with the audio with this and sync the video together in the editing software. I don't know if you know that or not. That's how that works. So this Reds Eats is right on US 1. The traffic was unbelievable. The large trucks. Maine is busy. Maine is, it's not like, you know, you're thinking, one of these 70s or 80s movies where you go off to some campgrounds, you know. They got major population up there too, and that's why I decided also to do this video, is I'm just gonna edit in the video that I got. I just used the Canon audio, the Canon camera of course, with the video. But I'm in my car with the air conditioning on because it's so hot. I waited. That's another thing. Just before I got to to place my order, the people in back of me are like, "How long do you think we've been here?"
This is butter on it.
10-minute waiting time.
It's cold.
And it's. I don't want to be Debbie Downer.
I want to wait.
Like an SNL. It's just lobster on a hot dog roll.
By the side of the road.
I think it might have been it was pretty salty though, the butter. I think it was clarified butter. It was a special butter. It was seasoned, I think.
Heavy, huge semis. Barreling down the hill. Going up the hill both directions.
So the sun is beating down on you.
This was the place for you.
And they actually have some umbrellas that they pass out to people, and they gave some water to people at one point. So I got my order. There's one crosswalk there. They have a sign that says in the state of Maine. I think it might be different in Massachusetts. I think if you're in a crosswalk, whether you have the light or not, traffic's supposed to stop for you, which I don't understand. It's like when you're supposed to go, you're not supposed to go when it's green, and you don't go when it's red. But anyways, there's no turning around. You have to go over the causeway to the other. It's all broken up into pieces in this area of Maine. And I just had the lobster in the car. There was another seafood place outside with plenty of tables, a deck, huge deck, ice cream, baked goods. I can hear the orders in the background. So people were getting served. Good turnaround time. I actually was concerned because I parked across the street. I didn't know where to park. People waiting in line. Wives were complaining that they had to go to the bathroom. I found out later that there were porta potties right across the street. I hadn't seen them. But the lobster across the street, I was gonna have it. I was gonna have a lobster there too. And I asked someone. I said, I kind of felt like I fell for that. I think everyone in line was probably a first time. I think I saw it, learned about it on Facebook or something. So they're all probably tourists, And then they have it, and then, it's you can't mess up lobster. You steam the lobster, you put butter on it. Some versions of it they use like mayonnaise and I think pieces of celery maybe. So you can get your lobster with butter, or some people use tartar sauce. I got a little thing of coleslaw and a little thing of fries. Don't ask me what I paid for it. It's embarrassing. Lobster's expensive. But do you know those movies? I think did they make 3 of them where teenagers escape death? But you can't escape death, so the whole movie is death catching up with each individual one, and they all die these gruesome. Well, when you're waiting there, these trucks are barreling down the street, both directions. I'm not exaggerating. I got it on video. I'm not talking about little trucks. I'm talking about huge semis, huge trucks carrying equipment, and you're only a couple of feet away from them. You can feel the pressure wave. And it was hot, but after all was said and done, I calmed down. I got my camera, put it on my tripod. I said, didn't care if anybody was looking. I don't know why I would think that, because this is the age of smartphones and everybody doing their Instagram thing, right? But oddly enough, I don't recall seeing anybody doing that at their tables. But I saw another shack. Well, when I pulled into park, I kept on looking across the street. I'm paranoid I was going to get towed or something. But I remember seeing one of those, signs that had ice cream on it. So I went up and I saw hot fudge sundae and hot caramel sundae, and I was just thinking of that. When I was a kid, there used to be a place on the Fells Way I'm pretty sure it was called Buttricks. And it must have been in its heyday. It must have been like a big thing in the 50s, you know. And as a kid, I don't know, it seemed like it was really big. Like they had serving windows on all four sides of the building. And it was a big building. So when I was a kid, I think they were already past their prime. And I remember going there at night. And my parents, my dad had a Rambler, a green Rambler. And if I could recall, I thought it was real neat that it had probably the first, you know, electric windows. I think it had suicide doors on it. But anyways, I had hot caramel sundae. Wasn't a fan of hot fudge sundaes. But you would have the contrast of the cup. It would be warm in your hand, and you had the ice cream. And I think at the time, I never wanted the nuts on them. I got the whipped cream and probably the cherry. But I was just thinking about this the other day. I don't think I liked I didn't want to, you know, when you're a kid. You don't want to try something, you made up your mind. It doesn't matter, you don't want to try it. So I never wanted the nuts on maybe with sprinkles or jimmies but it was real hot caramel sauce. And years later, I went into a Friendly's and I said, you know what, I'm going to get a hot caramel sundae. And I'm watching, and what they did is they had this stuff, the same stuff that you can buy in a jar in the grocery store. I don't know what it is, but it's like caramel flavor or something like that. And I was so disappointed because I remember they would get like the scoop and they would drizzle it on around the ice cream. So I asked the lady, I said, well, I'm thinking of the hot caramel. Is it real caramel? And she points to she's got a hot bath with the hot fudge and the hot caramel dispenser. They were just in those plastic squeeze dispensers, but it was real caramel because it got thicker and harder as it cooled down in the ice cream, as I remember it. I was going to try to learn how to make caramel at home, make my own ice cream sundae. So yeah, that was a long day. That's a long ride. And that can't be. I guess that is the total. No, I don't think that's the total. It says 1 hour and 39 minutes. I think it's more than a 2-hour drive. And when I come back, the car's rattling even more. I parked on the US 1 north side, and you can't like make a U-turn at that area. So you have to go across the bridge, find a side road to get on it, turn around. It's just bumper to bumper like Route 1 on a Friday. So I'm thinking, my transmission's gonna die. So there was a guy also after I had my Sunday. There was a guy in another booth just sitting there. New England time, old timer, and got that vibe going, and he's just selling homemade preserves. He had blueberry preserves. So I bought a jar, and then it finally dawned on me. I said, do you know if there's a parts supply place like an AutoZone anywhere near here? Because I was convinced that I needed transmission fluid that was probably low, because I'd only get the grinding sound at a low speed. And once I got up to speed, but the odd thing was is that my transmission didn't seem to be shifting differently. It was just strange. So it was 3 miles away. It was a Napa AutoZone, Napa Auto Parts. And I picked up 2 quarts of transmission fluid, told the guy, yeah, I just repaired, my DIY. My own transmission line, the fluid, that piece there. I bought off of eBay, by the way. And I said, I think my transmission fluid is low. I might have lost a lot more than I thought I had. And I didn't measure it. I'm supposed to measure the transmission fluid hot. So I put in like a third of or half of a quart. I measured the dipstick. It measured cold level when it was hot. So I think I still needed to add some. So I got all this rattling sound going on. I make it home. And then this morning I decide to investigate. I'm thinking, oh man, I just know my transmission's gone. And I hear the rattling, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm trying to echolocate it, and I'm listening. I've got these Rhino ramps. You just roll the car up onto the ramps, drive it up onto the ramps. Then I put a jack out for backup, and I look underneath. I couldn't believe it. All it was is that there's this heat shield, this tin heat shield, and it's practically just sitting on top of the exhaust pipes, and it's just sitting there. So whatever was holding that in place must have rusted out. So I figured a way to do a couple of tie wraps, then another heavy duty, more thicker piece of shielding farther back, underneath the passenger seat. The hole had rusted large enough so that the bolt holding it, the pan just dropped, so that was shaking too. So I found luckily I was able to take that bolt out, and I found a really large washer in the cellar that was going to expand, that was going to be wider or bigger diameter than the rusted out hole, and re-secured that. But that's all it was, to my relief. That's all that rattling was. I thought for sure I'm like, let me get this. I went up to Maine to get some ASMR type of video, which I couldn't do because I forgot my SD card, and then to top it off, I destroyed my transmission. So everything worked out, except, and when I was on the deck, they were playing music. It was sort of obscure jazz, but you can hear it on the audio that I did get. Just looking at over the bay, and then I put it on a tripod and got an video of me eating the sundae. You can hear. I think YouTube would pick that up and give me a copyright strike. there's a lot of logistics. These people that go out doing documentaries, they've got, camera equipment people, and extras of everything. Have to have extra cables in case something. I brought the rechargeable battery with me. But it was a interesting memory. It was a pretty straightforward drive. This tuna fish sandwich with the panadoses bread. This is good. I'm gonna buy this. It's not that sweet, that's the thing too. I was buying, I bought 2 liters of ginger ale. That stuff's got a lot of sugar in it. I'd have a hangover afterwards. Or not a hangover, I'd pass out. I couldn't stop drinking ginger ale. That Sunday really took me back. I haven't had that in a long time. Oh, another thought I didn't complete. At one point, whenever it happened, I tried to I had the nuts put on. And I liked it. I know my dad would always get the nuts on his ice cream, and he'd always tell me to try it, You know what it is when you're a kid? It's not that you don't think you're gonna like it. I think if something about your parents trying to get you to do it, then you're like, oh no, maybe you're thinking that must be a trick or something. But they keep on telling you to try it, which gives you more resistance not to. Well, I was going to have an ice cream, but I think the video would be too long. So, yeah, I'll take the video that I have and put it into the conversation so you can see what my experience was at this establishment. 3 people in line had dogs. I don't know what people are thinking. On hot days like that, always see people on the hottest day of the year saying, oh, you know what I think I'll do today? I'll go jogging and bring my dog along. So, I was so relieved and happy when I fixed my rattling sound this morning. It's amazing what you can do with tie wraps. So thanks everyone for stopping by. Listen to my story of my Maine adventure. I started, it's supposed to be for like bone health or something like that, but I think there's more involved. I started taking some of these. Probably good to have one after every meal. And I think I feel a lot better. Or it is doing something. Yeah, I think it's 5:16. And like I said, I've been up since 3 o'clock. I got 3 bags of pine bark mulch, 4 bags of raised bed soil, and I had planted seeds, and I must have, I don't know if they were a gift from another order. You know, sometimes you order from a place and they'll give you some seeds as a gift. So I couldn't remember specifically what I planted. I thought it was a shrub, and obviously it became a tree. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I'm pretty sure they're called American basswood, because they it's a prolific flowering tree in the spring and produce a lot of nectar for bees. So I had 3 trees that made it. One of them I just put on top of one of the raised beds, and it grew through the pot. Had these massive roots, and it was already like a 6-foot tree in 2 years. So 2 of them I threw away. Now I'm regretting it, although they're huge. They get to be huge trees. But I think I'm going to plant one. We used to have one on the city property in front of the house. We used to have a sugar maple tree, and then it died. So I might just dig a hole. I dug it up out of the raised bed, and I had to cut the roots. Not the best time to cut roots in July, so I might not make it, but if I prune off some more branches, it might just drop its leaves as a survival technique. Tomorrow morning I think I'll dig a hole and put it out on the city strip there between the curb and the sidewalk. It won't mature until I'm long gone. Then it'll be somebody's problem, because this house's power line angles through where that, pretty much where that tree is going to be. But I don't know how many years before it starts blooming, but it'll provide nectar to honeybees. So thanks for everyone for stopping by, listening to one of my rambling stories. And yeah, I was going to use the video from that and tell the story while I made my own lobster roll. You can go to Shaw's, they'll actually steam the lobster for you. You know, you pick out a lobster, they steam it, or you can steam it at home fresh lobster, put it on a grilled hot dog bun. I still have one of the containers of the clarified butter from this Red's Eats place. Pour that on. Buy some coleslaw from Shaw's. Make some french fries. I had french fries. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. Thank you for your support and comments. Thanks for using the Amazon affiliate link in the description to make any of your Amazon purchases. And so definitely need to cut it short because the camera turned off. I went over. So thanks for watching. Until next video, everyone. Bye. I just remembered this after the video. I'll slice this in. Years ago, I was working for a company, and there was this assembler, and she was already, I don't know, I think she was in her 70s, and this was 20 years ago, and the topic came up about this Buttrick's place. I'm pretty sure that's the name. She says, "Do you remember that Buttrick's place?" I said, "Yeah, I remember going there as a kid a couple of times." She says, "I have memories. I used to go there wearing those hoop dresses, you know, like the first couple of episodes of the first season of Happy Days in the 1950s. They had those dresses, went down to like the ankles, but they sort of went out. They were all frilly. And I'm like, wow. Yeah, she said that was a big, probably hangout place for the teenagers in the 50s. I thought that was interesting. I can't find anything on the internet about that place. There's like a condo building and a gas station right now on that corner. It's opposite the MDC skating rink on the Fellsway. Right across the street there used to be this big parking lot with this big square building with all windows around it, sliding windows. So they must have had like stations at every window. So it must have been a big thing. They have a swimming area on that pond up there near the Stone Zoo.